Call to order, City of Negaunee special meeting, Thursday, June 26, 2025, 6 p.m. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Hellman, Councilmember Becker,
Yes.
Councilmember Howard,
Hello.
Councilmember Flowey,
Here.
Councilmember Kangas,
Here.
Councilmember Dietz, Councilmember Ganavati.
All right, entertain a motion for approval of the agenda, please. All right, Dave. All right, Matt, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? All right, open to number 5, public comment. 3-minute public comment. This public comment is prior to our public hearing. So if you do have a public comment, I ask that you forego the fluoride public comments until we get into the public hearing portion of the agenda. If you do have a public comment on anything other than fluoride, by all means, please, now is your time, 3 minutes at the podium. Please step up, say your name, address, and whatever your concern is, comments, concerns. And if I see none, hear none, then we will move on to the public hearing. Now is your time.
May I ask a question? Are you gonna run it in a certain order? Do you want,
I will get there right
Okay,
after
thank you.
public comment. No, what?
My name's George Sedlacek. I live at 1121 Owaissa, Negaunee, Michigan. I've been retired for a few years. I have 32 years of public health experience at the health department. I've been before this city commission. It's been a number of years now. Not on this specific issue. I'm not gonna talk about the data. I'm not a dentist.
Are you speaking of fluoride right now?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna wait until we get into the actual public hearing for fluoride topics. Thank you. Any public comment not related to fluoride? All right, seeing none, hearing none, closing public comment. Number 6, public hearing, 6.1, water fluoridation. We have to make a motion to go into the public hearing, or, all right, entertain a motion to go into public hearing.
I'll make a motion to go into public hearing.
And Amanda?
I'll second it.
Now, second. All discussion? Amanda? Anything to discuss about it before we go make a vote?
I'm just looking forward to hearing what everybody has to say, and I'll forego my comments till council comment.
Well, we got all these people together, let's get with it.
No further comments? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All against? All right, with that, we are opening the public hearing. With the public hearing, we are going to allow 4 minutes per speaker. What I ask, we're gonna do 4 minutes per speaker. Those that are in favor of removing fluoride from our water system, I ask that you would make your comments first. After everyone that is in favor of removing fluoride from our water system has gone, then we will entertain everybody who is against removing fluoride from our water system. Second, and then if there is any third parties, you're neither for or against it, you're here just to make a comment about it, by all means, we'll have an opportunity right after that. I do ask, this has become a passionate subject for many. I ask that we remain adults, professional. The gasps and the nods and the oh my goodnesses can be foregone during this. Let's just be professional. Take everybody's comments as they are, and we can all make a good solid meeting out of this. We do have a screen here. We will allow, if you do have a slideshow or presentation with a, what do you call it, a projector, by all means, you can use that projector. However, we're not going to allow Zoom conferences or Zoom conference calls with anybody, as we don't do that during our regular scheduled meetings, throughout the months anyway. With that being said, after the meeting is adjourned, I ask that everybody exits the building promptly. If there is discussions to be had, let's please have those discussions outside the building, as we don't want to crowd the building and keep this building open. So as soon as the meeting is adjourned, we'll exit, and if there's questions, comments, concerns, media, then we can manage that outdoors. Thank you. With that being said, I will open the floor to 4 minutes, 4-minute comments to anybody who is in favor of removing fluoride from our water system. Sir.
Good evening. I'm Scott Dowdy. I'm a medical doctor. I have UP Holistic Medicine in Marquette.
Address, please.
I'm at 195 E. Johnson in Scandia. I have many patients from your community, and I probably am one of the only people in the medical profession who's seeing patients on a daily basis that encounters issues around how fluoride might be impacting someone's function. My practice is holistic medicine, but it could be called functional medicine, because while I was trained classically to diagnose and treat, I've expanded my approach to include things that go beyond a diagnosis, things that talk about function. So issues like fatigue, or constipation, or brittle nails, or dry hair, or dry skin. All of those things might start to sound like a diagnosis, but really I'm trying to get people's function better. And we do that in various ways, sometimes pharmaceutical, but a lot of times environmental and lifestyle is our approach. So when I was aware that this topic came up for discussion and public comment, I wanted to share with you all some of my experience around fluoride. Fluoride is a halide, and you guys probably know this already because you've studied it, and you'll hear more from other people that are going to speak more scientifically than me. But 3 hours ago, I was seeing a 19-year-old gal from a community south of here, and she has constipation, brittle nails, dry hair, dry skin, and fatigue. So doctors tell her, everything looks fine, your numbers are all good, this just must be you not getting enough sleep, or you not exercising enough, or maybe you're working too hard. And I did an iodine test on her. I had her take 50 milligrams of iodine orally, and then I collected 24 hours of urine, she did, sent it to the lab, and in that test we learn how much iodine deficiency someone has, and also how much fluoride is in their system, because when you take a lot of iodine, it knocks fluoride off of the iodine receptors. There are no fluoride receptors. Iodine is like fluoride because it's in the same family on the periodic table in chemistry. So is bromide. So I got to measure iodine in her urine, bromide in her urine, and fluoride in her urine. She was iodine deficient, like most of us are. She had safe levels of bromide, if you can call bromide a safe thing that's in you, and she had toxic levels of fluoride. And I said to her, I'm going to talk about you in a few hours in a public comment, because you have issues functionally. I'm not going to blame those issues on fluoride, but I am going to include fluoride in my thought process. I'm going to treat her with iodine, which will restore her iodine stores. The thyroid and many other organs in the body need iodine. But by giving her iodine, we're going to kick fluoride off of the iodine receptors and restore the function of those receptors as iodine, not fluoride receptors. So my plea to you is, let people decide how they feel about fluoride, whether they want it in their daily experience, or if they just want it when they go to the dentist or when they want to treat their teeth topically. There's no role for fluoride
30 seconds remain.
in a systemic way of living. We're all trying to drink more water. We're all trying to be hydrated and healthy. And if fluoride is in the water that we're trying to get rid of because doctors like me say it, I think it should be out. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Hello, my name's Amy Moss, 332 East Michigan Street.
What city?
Marquette.
Yeah.
And I have a statement from a dentist, Griffin Cole. That statement should have also been emailed to your secretary, that I'd like to read. He's also the past president and current conference chairman of the International Academy of Oral Medicine and Toxicology. He starts out by saying 95% of the world's population does not fluoridate its water supply. Of the 11 countries that still do, the United States fluoridates water for more people than all the other countries combined. With such widespread implementation, one would reasonably expect the U.S. to have the lowest rates of tooth decay globally. But this is not true. Tooth decay rates are consistent across both fluoridated and non-fluoridated communities. In 2018, Casey Hannon, Director of Oral Health at the CDC, was asked under oath during expert depositions. He was asked, is the CDC aware of any evidence demonstrating benefits from consumption of fluoridated drinking water during the first 6 months of life? His response, no, we are not aware of any evidence. When asked the same question regarding toddlers, his answer remained the same, no, there is no evidence. This admission from the highest ranking official in the nation's most influential proponent of water fluoridation acknowledges that there is zero evidence that early life exposure to fluoridated water benefits dental health. Yet despite this, the practice continues across cities and states as it does here in Negaunee. There are now over 80 worldwide studies, many funded by our government through the National Institutes of Health, showing neurocognitive damage to babies' brains, arguably the most important reason to stop this failed experiment with fluoride. In short, fluoridation has not delivered the promised dental health benefits. What it has done, according to a large growing body of scientific literature, is contribute to a range of health disorders, including suppressed thyroid function, calcification of the pineal gland, endocrine disruption, interference with enzyme activity, and most importantly, neurodevelopmental harm, including reduced IQ and cognitive impairment in our children. The evidence is increasingly clear. Water fluoridation is both ineffective and harmful. It is no longer scientifically or ethically defensible. We urge Negaunee to cease water fluoridation immediately. Continuing this practice not only fails to protect the public health, it exposes your citizens, especially the children, to unnecessary risk. Municipalities like Negaunee that persist in fluoridation are not working for its constituents in the best interest, and they may be held liable for the health consequences it causes.
30 seconds remain.
Griffin Cole goes on to cite some of the studies, and I wanted to leave you with the main points of his statement. In your email, you will find those studies in detail. He talks about the flaws in the studies, and he talks about a study in Calgary where the control city of Edmonton, which fluoridated the entire time, showed even higher decay rates during the same period that they looked at. So I will leave the rest of the study
Your time is
for
complete.
review. Thanks.
Henry Plummer, 566 Bluff Street. I will read a few responses to claims made by fluoride promoters. Statement, fluoride is natural. Response, fluoride is found naturally in water, usually at very low levels, but not as a mineral as sometimes mistakenly claimed, but an ion. Furthermore, the chemical used for fluoridating water is usually hydrofluorosilicic acid. It is an air pollution scrubber liquid from the phosphate fertilizer industry. It is officially classified as hazardous waste, and if not used for fluoridation, it must be disposed of at a hazardous waste facility. It can contain lead and arsenic, for which there are no safe levels, and radioactive elements. China is increasingly a source of fluoridating chemicals. Statement, fluoride is one of the top 10 public health achievements of the 20th century. Response, rather than being a leading health achievement, fluoridation is actually one of the most widely rejected health interventions in the world. Out of 196 nations, only 24 have artificially fluoridated water, and of those, only 10 for more than half their population, like the US. Over 95% of the world's population drinks unfluoridated water. In Europe, it's 98%, where only 4 out of 48 countries fluoridate. Several countries have banned the practice, including France, Germany, the Netherlands, Sweden, and Norway. Where it hasn't been banned nationwide, cities and towns have virtually unanimously either never considered it or rejected it. Out of the 10 public health achievements named by the CDC, fluoridation is the only one that hasn't been adopted by most of the world's population. Statement, fluoridation promoters have called NTP reports misleading, saying they included many low-quality studies and questionable methodologies, such as measuring the exposure with urine fluoride concentrations. Response, the NTP is the highest level review in the country, part of the National Institutes of Health, with highly qualified scientists that know valid methodologies as well or better than anyone. They spent nearly 9 years researching this science with multiple peer reviews. Urine measurements have been used as a standard technique for years in epidemiological studies to determine toxicity and other contaminants, such as arsenic, mercury, and organic phosphate pesticides. Furthermore, since it reflects total fluoride intake at an individual level, it's often considered the best and most relevant measure of fluoride exposure in connection with neurotoxic effects. You'll probably hear other things too that fluoride promoters will say, and just keep in mind that not all these things are true, and sometimes they are true but misleading, like the example that fluoridation is natural. So with that, I would like to ask you to consider ending fluoridation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carrie Plummer, 566 Bluff Street. There is a solution. It provides choice for the consumer. It's called fluoride toothpaste. The U.S., which fluoridates over 70% of its water supplies, has more people drinking fluoridated water than the rest of the world combined. Even if we don't live in a community where we fluoridate, we are still getting a dose of it every day through cereal, soda, juice, or any processed food and drink manufactured with fluoridated water. As has been mentioned, over 95% of the world's population drinks unfluoridated water. In Europe, it's 98%, where only 4 out of 48 countries fluoridate. I'm going to read some statements from European officials from European countries who had either never fluoridated or stopped decades ago. Austria, toxic fluorides have never been added to the public water supplies in Austria. Belgium, this water treatment has never been of use in Belgium. It's not its task to deliver medicinal treatment to people. Finland, we do not favor or recommend fluoridation of drinking water. France, fluoride chemicals are not included in the list of chemicals for drinking water treatment due to ethical as well as medical considerations. Germany, fluoridation of drinking water is forbidden, is the problematic nature of compulsory medication. Luxembourg, Fluoride has never been added to the public water supplies in Luxembourg. Netherlands, drinking water should not be used as a vehicle for pharmaceuticals. Fluoridation of drinking water would conflict with the freedom to choose for natural drinking water. Natural drinking water. Norway, drinking water should not be fluoridated. Should not. Sweden, drinking water fluoridation is not allowed in Sweden. Czech Republic, unecological, environmental load by a foreign substance. I'm an environmentalist, and this stuff is toxic to the environment. Unethical, forced medication. This is from Czech Republic. Disregards actual individual intake and may lead to excessive health-threatening intake in certain population groups, like the developing brain. Denmark, toxic fluorides have never been added to the public water supplies. I also wanted to mention that the dental professionals will bring up that the only defense for lower income people would be water fluoridation. In 2024, Cochrane Collaboration Systematic Review, the LOTUS study of 2024, the largest ever conducted, concluded that there's no evidence that fluoridation benefits low income families. What is a burden to low-income families would be buying fluoride filters. Those are expensive. And it certainly has been a financial burden for my family, for myself and my family. The US in general has one of the worst rates of tooth decay and chronic illness compared to other industrialized nations that do not fluoridate their water and have comparable living conditions like ourselves. Clearly, fluoridation is not a panacea, and perhaps it can be a false sense of security. The WHO data, which we shared with you and has been passed along here, show no
30
difference at
seconds
all.
remaining, Barry.
Thank you. Has shown no difference at all in cavity rates between fluoridated and unfluoridated nations. That's a fact. No medicine should be added to the water supply. No medical intervention can be safe for all people, even if they say so. That is absolutely safe. That can't be true. Let's end water fluoridation here in Negaunee and in Ishpeming. Thank you so much.
Good evening, Jill Howard, 207 West Clark Street, here in Negaunee. I really like that we have come so far in advancement in medical care, holistic care, just the things that we find out, trying to go back to more natural ways of living that I think are better, not only as adults, but especially for young children. And I would like to see it removed, is because ironically enough, even before this was brought up, I see the dentist 3 times a year because I like my teeth and I want to keep them. And so I get them cleaned. And I have argued with having the fluoride done with the cleaning, because when I say it's in my water, it's in my toothpaste, it's in my food, I have been worried for some time that I'm being over chemicalized, and I think we do have a right to choose, and we should be able to, because there's many options if you want yourself or your children. And you know, I think that's basically it. It's kind of short and sweet, and because people can argue back this data, that data. I think the real issue is we're able to give people a choice, and I think we should. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Valerie Olson, 116 Hillcrest Trail. If you look at what was handed to you, I hope, a two-page.
What city?
Oh, I'm sorry, Marquette. If you look at the handouts, if you can find the first page where I have the issues that need to be reviewed regarding fluoridation. It's really important to understand that the industrial grade waste byproduct of the fertilizer industry is what's being put into our water. It is entirely different from sodium fluoride that's being put in our toothpaste. What seems to be such a disconnect is to find on the label of a fluoridated toothpaste a warning that if we swallow a pea size of the toothpaste, we are to call the Poison Control Center. And that is the exact amount that is in 1 glass of fluoridated city water, only with a fluoride that is not approved for ingestion by the FDA. So the FDA has only approved fluoride to be used topically. So when we put it in the water supply, it's without FDA approval. It's classified by the FDA as a drug because it's being used to treat a health condition. So this is in violation of the Safe Water Drinking Act, which even forbids the FDA from mandating the addition of any chemical to a public water supply, that is not just being used for the purposes of disinfecting. That is what the Safe Water Drinking Act allows government to do, but not to add something that is being used to address a health issue. So it is a violation of the Safe Water Drinking Act to add a chemical that's an unapproved drug for the FDA classification. And they actually stated this before Congress. You can find all this information on the website I put on your handouts. And I really encourage each of you to go and listen to, at the very least, the video of Michael Conant reviewing the federal trial. It's so important in light of all of the hiding of some of the information that we need to have to make informed choices. As I listened to parts of the trial, I read some of the transcripts of this federal trial that just concluded last September 24th. My father was a dentist. I can't even tell you how disappointed I was to learn that the American Dental Association actually attempted to alter this 7-year report, 7 years in the making of our highest agency, the toxicology program, National Toxicology Program. It is the highest agency in our land to review the toxic effects of fluoride. So when it became known that their report, which took 6 years to scrutinize studies from all over the world, finding that 18 out of 19 of the very highest level studies showed without a doubt a link between fluoridation at 0.7 parts per million and lowered IQ and neurological issues in children. So I was very disappointed to see, more than disappointed, that the American Dental Association contacted the report, hearing it was going to be made public for the judge to make his final ruling. He was waiting on this report, and attempted to have it altered so that the truth of the findings would not be made known to the public. Wow, that was really
30
hard to
seconds
learn.
remaining, though.
And it's in the transcript. You can go to the website and read it for yourself. What we have to remember is there are many health agencies that have conflicts of interest. We've got to seek the truth from places and doctors and people, and you will hear some of them testify on the website. I ask you, please read the letter and the issues that I gave to you, and please take 25 minutes of your time, because this issue is critical for our
Time's
children to be
expired.
unborn. Thank you.
Hi, all. Jeff Plummer, 566 Bluff Street, Negaunee. The first thing I would guide you to is this graph, which you all have. It's probably the simplest proof from the WHO. If you look at non-fluoridated countries and fluoridated, statistically, the difference in cavities it's nothing. They're statistically identical. It's pretty self-evident that, and there's very little science, there's almost no good science that ingesting fluoride prevents cavities. There may be some evidence about topical application, and this becomes choice for people. This is the whole point we're looking at, is the choice not to have our water medicated. It shouldn't really have to argue about that. Mass medication goes against all of the enshrined principles of modern medicine. And that's kind of what shocks me about a lot of the pro-fluoride groups, many of them medical professionals. We've got a Hippocratic oath. We've got the idea of mass medication. We should be considering individualized medicine. I hear this from doctors all the time. You always treat the patient in front of you. How can you do that if you're giving everyone the same medication at unknown doses? Because this is the problem too with public water fluoridation. There is no way to control for dose. Some people are athletes and they might drink twice the water that somebody who's non-athlete. That some people are drinking more commercial beverages, often fluoridated. So there's no way to control dose. This completely goes against the principles of the Hippocratic Oath, first do no harm, and you can't say that water fluoridation, which is a medication, does no harm, because you don't have that patient in front of you. You are mass medicating the public. This goes, again, against all of our enshrined principles. There are many upside-down ideas, I believe, about choice. The choice should never be, I choose to have my water medicated. The choice should always be, I choose to have pure water. And so the idea that some people will bring that up possibly tonight, that they're losing their choice to be medicated. Well, they're not. They can go search out those medications. They can search out fluoridated toothpaste. We have to go to extreme measures to remove fluoride from the water. I don't even want to garden with it. It actually pollutes the soil. It kills bacteria in the soil. A lot of people don't think of the impact. Our thousands of gallons of water are fluoridated. That all gets discharged in one way or another into our waterways, onto our lawns. We only ingest a small percentage of it. Everything else, our wastewater treatment plant, as far as I know, they don't remove fluoride before they discharge it in the environment. So fluoride has a very deleterious effect on plant life too. So we are purging our region with fluoridated water, which concentrates in the soil. Water will evaporate or percolate down. All these other novel chemicals often get concentrated in the soil. This is very dangerous long-term, especially. And there are harmful effects, and there's way too much denialism. The science is out there. The 1.5 parts per million, there is massive evidence. And yes, we don't fluoridate at that rate, but many of the studies included at 0.7 parts per million is how we fluoridate our water, also show neurological harmful effects. So no proven benefit to cavities, massive evidence that it's lowering children's IQs, and probably us as adults too. And there are
30 seconds, sir.
Thank you. There are effects on our thyroid and pineal glands, danger to unborn babies and infants, no benefit. A baby not growing teeth has no benefit to fluoride. Danger to those with kidney function. And there's possible contributors to bone fractures and bone cancer. So this is something that we really shouldn't argue about. Mass medication of anything is a bad idea, and we need informed consent, and we should have that. So I would like to see fluoride removed from our water system. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hi, Kristen Wainio, 109 Allen Street. This is a statement from Rick North. Hi, my name is Rick North. My background is in nonprofit health management. I worked 21 years for the American Cancer Society, the last 5 as CEO of the Oregon chapter, and 7 years as a Safe Food Director of the Oregon Physicians for Social Responsibility before retiring. For most of my life, I supported water fluoridation. Then about 15 years ago, I researched the science on its health risks and promptly changed my mind. For the past 14 years, I've been a full-time volunteer with a large group of scientists, physicians, and dentists all over the United States and Canada to end this practice. I'd like to address the main points of this successful lawsuit against the EPA for allowing fluoridation. On September 24th, 2024, a federal court ruled that fluoridation of water at 0.7 milligrams per liter, the level presently considered optimal in the United States, poses an unreasonable risk of reduced IQ in children. The risk occurred mainly from pregnant women drinking fluoridated water, with their infants consuming it when they're mixed with formula. The judge appointed by President Obama ordered the EPA to establish rules eliminating this risk. The court order didn't ask for more studies to be conducted. It demanded action be taken at the federal level. In the months following the decision, over 60 communities nationwide, they didn't wait. They ended fluoridation on their own, most by city council action. Not one city has chosen to start it for the first time. In addition, 2 states, Utah and Florida, have banned it. The vast majority of people in the world, 95%, have rejected fluoridation, and the U.S. is catching up to them. The trend is clear. Many questions have arisen regarding this lawsuit, and I'd like to address them. First, the ruling does not apply to topical applications of fluoride, such as toothpaste, only water, fluoridation. Second, the judge based his 80-page ruling strictly on the science. He heard testimony from scientists and government officials on both sides. He also considered the systemic review produced by the National Toxicology Program, the highest level in the country. Both sides in the lawsuit agreed the NTP report was thorough and high quality. It found a remarkable level of consistency. 18 out of the 19 highest quality studies linked higher fluoride levels with lower IQs, many at levels in fluoridated water or slightly above. Third, for mothers drinking an average amount of water, the expected loss for their children is 1 to 3 IQ points. However, for mothers drinking substantially more, about 5% of the population, the estimated loss in the range of 5 to 7 IQ points. Since there is wide variability between individuals, some children will have less or no IQ loss, while others will have higher. Population-wide, a decrease of just 5 IQ points cuts in half the number of geniuses and doubles the number of challenged children, inflicting major personal and financial suffering on both ends of this demographic spectrum. The science and the law has spoken. Please listen and take the appropriate action to protect our citizens from this dangerous neurotoxin. And again, this is a statement from Rick North. Thanks.
Any further comments related to taking fluoride out of the water system? Last call. All right, we will move on to those who would like to keep fluoride in our water system. The floor is yours.
Sorry, I jumped the gun. Although I should have said, my wife's having a rummage sale this Saturday.
George, can we get your address one more time?
1121 Oasis Street, Negaunee, Michigan. 283 million people currently have fluoridated water. There has been 0 documented cases of either cancer or neurological damage in any of those kids. It's been in our water for, in some cities, 75 years. Our city commission in 1951 instituted fluoride in our water. And so it's been in our water for several generations. I'm not going to get into statistics from China or anywhere else. I'll let that to health professionals that's look in our kids' mouths every single day. Personally, I spent my first 8 years in a farming community, no public water. My granddaughter looks in my mouth and says, "Boy, Grandpa, you got a lot of gold teeth." So both my kids were born in Negaunee, 0 cavities, and I'm sure many people here have the same. And the dentist will speak to that too. In Europe, yes, most of them add fluoride in different methods. Some add it to salt, like iodine. They put fluoride in their salt supplies. Almost all the countries add fluoride in one way or another. It is a toxic in very high levels, as are a lot of substances. We're not talking about that. In Michigan, there's 200 communities that have multiple higher levels of fluoride than we do. I haven't heard of any of those communities looking for ways to lower the fluoride in their water supply. Germfast, UP is one of the only areas that have fluoride naturally in their water. Somebody made a comment, it's not natural. It's in some areas. Many multiples higher than what we have. I'm not quite sure if they have more neurological issues or not. I don't think so. I haven't heard of that. Finally, listen to our health professionals locally. They experience this every single day. My personal hero is Dr. Hayward. Dr. Hayward started the first clinic here in the county for low-income kids. And he also donates his time on a mission, his vacation time every single year going down to Latin America and helping kids. There's no way he would hurt kids knowingly or even unknowingly. And I'll let him speak for himself as the other dentists because they're more knowledgeable than myself.
Thank you.
I'm Patrick Giacuzzo. I live at 3 Lawrence Drive, Marquette. I'm here tonight to represent the Marquette County Health Department. The Marquette County Health Department has an official position statement that was provided to the council through the city manager's office. Did everybody get a copy of that? If not, I have it. I just wanted to touch base with a few important points in there. You know, there's been, like George said, 75, I think it's closer to 80 years of data and research that indicates that community water fluoridation continues to confer a public health effect. The effect might not be as large as it was originally, but it's still believed to be at least 25% reduction in dental caries. And it does confer a health advantage, and there isn't strong evidence that there are deleterious effects at the recommended levels of 0.7 milligrams per liter. It's important to understand that the consequences of poor oral hygiene extend beyond simple tooth decay. Poor oral hygiene can affect other health conditions within the body, can also affect social factors and stigmas, which may contribute to worse mental health outcomes and you know, developmental and learning outcomes, as well as general wellness within the community. Community water fluoridation helps to ensure that dental health is preserved for all citizens, regardless of socioeconomic status, and protects the most vulnerable population that might not have access to care or the oral health habits that we all experience within our own homes. And as such, Marquette County Health Department strongly endorses and encourages drinking water fluoridation at the recommended levels of 0.7 milligrams per liter. With regard to statements about Safe Drinking Water Act, the addition of fluoride under the Safe Drinking Water Act is monitored. You have to have special water supply certification to operate those systems. The Safe Drinking Water Act also does treat fluoride as a contaminant once it gets to a level of 4 milligrams per liter, in which case it would have to be removed. I did read in comment to George's comment about naturally occurring fluoride. Ely Township's Consumer Confidence Report on their water supply this morning, I read, has 0.1 milligrams per liter naturally occurring fluoride. And I've permitted at least one well in Marquette Township that had excess of the maximum contamination of 4 milligrams per liter fluoride, which was it was a private well that was recommended to have fluoride removal. So the Safe Drinking Water Act does address safe levels of fluoride. It also permits fluoridation under strict oversight with certified operators. And Marquette County Health Department does continue to endorse that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Robert Van Howe, 413 East Ohio Street in Marquette. I am the medical director of the Marquette County Health Department. I practiced general pediatrics for about 3 decades before I went into public health, and I had the privilege of caring for children in this community for over a decade. Along the way, I earned a Master of Science in Clinical Research Design and Statistical Analysis from the School of Public Health in Ann Arbor. I'm old enough to remember that adding fluoride to the water was a communist plot. Since then, a number of purported justifications for withdrawing fluoride from the water have come and gone over the decades. None has gained traction following this gish gallop of unproven assertions because they lack substance. There is no proven harm from consuming water that contains fluoride at the current levels. There are many examples in which removing fluoride from municipal water supplies was followed by an increase in cavities and tooth infections. Water fluoridation is one facet of cavity prevention, and its impact cannot be replaced by other interventions. When I practiced pediatrics, I applied varnish to the teeth after they erupted. Fortunately, I was only bitten once. It could have happened more. We encourage people to brush their teeth with toothpaste that has fluoride. But doing these things does not undermine the positive value of water fluoridation. It adds to those other interventions. Some have argued that adding fluoride to the water takes away from the parents' choice to place their children at greater risk for cavities and tooth infections. I find this argument disingenuous because political appointees to the Federal Drug Administration have recently announced their intention to remove prescription fluoride drops and pills from the market. These prescription products are given to children whose water supplies do not have enough fluoride. And my kids grew up in an area where we had well water. We put them on the fluoride supplements. If the fluoride is removed from the water supply and prescription fluoride supplements are no longer available, parents who want their children to benefit from fluoride will not have the choice to do so. There's been some hullabaloo about the impact of fluoride on IQ scores. When I taught medical students and residents how to determine the value of a published study, I had them answer 2 questions. The first is, so what? In this case, the importance of 1 or 2 IQ points is not important at all. It's like the difference between a systolic blood pressure of 137 versus 135. It's within the error of the measuring tool. So the difference is not important enough to make a change in policy. The second question is, who cares? In other words, does the study apply to your patients? In this case, those studies looked at the consumption of water having fluoride concentrations several times higher than what we have in our water supply. Failing both the so what and who cares questions, the results of these studies can be dismissed as having no value in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. With high sugar contents in many foods and beverages, infants who fall asleep with a bottle in their mouth, and the resistance of some children to brush their teeth, we need every preventive measure at our disposal to assure the best dental health possible.
I'm gonna give these to you guys to something I worked up for you to peruse. This is for later. I'm sorry if I went short. And my name's Dr. Martin Matthews. I live in Chalkley Township on 29 Goodby Trail in Marquette. I am a retired pathologist who worked at Marquette Hospital for 37 years. I was born in Marquette in 1951, drank the fluoridated water all my life. My father was a pediatrician, Dr. Norman Matthews, some of you older people may have heard of him. And he told me when I was young about how there was a whoop-de-doo about fluoride back when he was in early practice. He was a PhD in biochemistry as well as a doctor. He actually switched from a scientific career to pediatrics, supposedly to make more money. But he was a believer in fluoride, and he wrote wrote articles into the paper and what have you. I think it's the same thing then as it is now. People are frightened of fluoride. It's something they're not familiar with. It sounds nasty. It's like genetic engineering or nuclear power or something. If you don't really understand it, there's a lot to be afraid of there, I guess. Does it help? Absolutely. There's an incredible amount of information out there about how fluoride exposure in developing teeth makes them much more resistant to cavities. I personally had the experience. I was sitting in a dentist chair in Pennsylvania when I moved out there to train. Dentist looking in my mouth for 5 seconds and saying, "You obviously grew up where they had fluoride." That's true. I mean, you can just tell by looking. The decrease in calories, it's not as much as it used to be because now you get all the toothpaste and everything else and people get fluoride that way. It knocked cavities down by 60% when it was first introduced. And all of this is straightforward. It's been said that the cavity rate in this country is no better than places that don't have fluoride. But what those people neglected to say is the U.S. is a world leader in consumption of sweet drinks and other sweet things, all of which are bad for your teeth. And if you go to some poor country where they're living on a lean diet and don't have all that sugar, it balances out. They should really have less cavities if fluoride didn't help. So I'm not going to go into that too much. There's all kinds of data on that. The one thing I will say is in Canada, in 2011, Calgary decided they weren't going to put fluoride in their water anymore. They're currently in the process of putting it back in because of looking at dental records in their community versus, I think it's Edmonton, nearby, and there's more cavities, so they went back. In Hamilton, they shut down fluoride in 2013. They put it back up in 2018 after it turned out there was significantly more dental emergencies amongst kids. So it does good. Is it dangerous? That's a little trickier question because you're getting into very small quantities of drugs where you're trying to compare apples to oranges. There are a lot of papers out there.
30 seconds remaining.
Okay, which will tell you that it's bad, but almost all of them are from outside of the U.S., all of them from outside of the U.S., and they all are about drug levels that are at least twice as high as what we're doing. There's a Canadian study that was quoted a lot, but it's kind of shaky in terms of the way they ran the study and the statistics they used. That's in the paper there too. I'm just going to use the last time I have to say that fluoride is not a drug. It is not a medication. It is best categorized as a mineral. It's just the same as salt. So it's fluoride.
Time's expired.
So, okay. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Martin Rinaldi. I'm at 829 Camelot, Uganda, Michigan. In the interest of credibility, a little bit about me. A lot of people don't know who I am. I'm an assistant professor and program director for clinical laboratory sciences at Northern Michigan University for the past 7 years. I'm also an ASAP, American Society of Clinical Pathology licensed medical laboratory scientist. I practiced in that profession in a clinical setting for well over 30 years, locally at a local hospital here in Marquette. I now enjoy teaching what I have practiced for so many years. I hold an associate's degree and a bachelor's degree in medical laboratory science and a master's degree in public administration. And in addition, and more importantly, is I also have a lot of training and background and experience in reviewing and critiquing different type of research. I learned that as an institutional review board. I've been on at Marquette Hospital as well as NMU for the last 7 years. This is where we critique and we look at research and designs and construct, and then we comment on them, et cetera, et cetera. I was also a Legani School Board member for 8 years, 2004 to 2012. These are the places where you have to get others' opinions, and you have to kind of look at where they're coming from, et cetera, et cetera. So some of the things that I'm familiar with was easy for me to comment on, but some of the stuff that I was not familiar with, I knew where to go and to get the information, which is, of course, what all you guys do as well. So my resume reflects a strong and lengthy career in the clinical laboratory sciences. My years in a school board, my 7 years and ongoing on NMU and UPHSM institutional review boards affords me the strong background in the comprehension of research design, statistical analysis, construct, and data interpretation. Henceforth, I believe that I have a background experience qualifies me to have an opinion on this topic. So the fluoridation of municipal water supplies has been a trusted, heavily regulated, and proven health benefit for over the last plus 60 years, especially for low-income populations who have limited access to dental care. Although I respect the opposing viewpoints and the healthy debate they bring, because it does, everybody learns something from these type of forums, and we appreciate that. But this proposed public health policy shift is fraught with unvalidated and sketchy research that, in the opinion of many healthcare professionals, will do more harm than good. Some of the caveats that I gleaned out of it, I'd love to spend more time talking about it, but I'm in the interest of time. My review of the city and Uganda's water policies, including fluoride sampling results over the past 6 years, found that not just fluoride, but all key matrices well within CDC, Center for Disease Control Compliance guidelines. Optimal fluoride level is 0.7 parts per million. We already know that now. The max allowable before serious health issues is 4 parts per million. That is 571 times greater than what we are actually fluoridating water with right now. So the concept of overfluoridation does have some value to it, but it has to be a significant amount, and of course that's well regulated, as we already heard. City of Negauni's average of 0.63 over the past 6 years, which is well in confirmation and compliance with the CDC, and certainly not a level to expose anybody to even minimal harm. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recommends that communities fluoridate their water at 0.7 parts per million. Any less than that puts our health, our teeth health, and cavities, etc., at risk. So it was a mandate from the Centers for Disease Control in that regard. And the study that we was talking about, the National Toxicology Program, the NTP study, appears to have opened the door for all of this, and that's okay. I actually went through and reviewed a lot of that stuff because they described potential neurological cognitive effects for long-term use of any type of fluoride exposure up and above 1.5 parts per million.
30 seconds remaining.
Really? I'm sorry. Okay. I'm a college professor, so I talk a lot. So anyway, I did a critique. One of the last things I'll talk about here is I have a lot of the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine is a place where I go to look and see a validation of studies. Just because I don't understand a lot of them, I go to there. This is our nonprofit group that helps provide objective advice in public policy. Their NPT study was quoted as saying inconsistent application of risk and bias, inadequate statistical rigor, and selective reporting, just to name a few.
And your time is expired.
Okay, thank you. Obviously, I'm an advocate for that, so. I'll save you this.
I'm Kathy Houghton, and I live in Ishpeming, 551 South Pine, but most of you know me as a teacher at Negauni High School for about 40 years, and my main credential here tonight is I'm old. Okay? And fluoride didn't enter the water in my community till I was 12 years old. I have a mouth full of cavities. Half my back teeth are filled with cavities. I did not have a single cavity after fluoride came into our water. We're very close friends with our dentist when I was a child, and I remember him saying, fluoride came into the water and I stopped seeing children with cavities. So there's all sorts of scientific information out there that I truly believe supports the quality of fluoride in the water. But my experience tells me exactly what happened. My cavities ended. As an adult, the teeth that I had trouble with were the ones that had to be filled, because then those teeth started to crumble. Then they needed to be capped. And probably most of you didn't have cavities as a child. They hurt and they're very painful. My parents had the ability to send me to the dentist to get those teeth filled. Others did not. And if you look at people over 80 years old, most of them do not have very many teeth. And those teeth were primarily lost, from my belief, were lost as children, and the cavities they sustained at that time. So my credential is I'm old, and cavities ended for me when fluoride came into my water. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Dr. Jim Hayward. I live at 103A East Buffalo Road in Negauni. And I'm a dentist, and I have practiced for over 40 years. The last 18 of those years were with the Marquette County Health Department, where I went to, I sold my private practice and went to Marquette County to help create access to care for low-income and Medicaid-eligible children. The greatest amount of decay, 80% of the disease, is in 20% of the population. And that 20% is the low-income population of our communities. I'm here to not talk about studies, but talk about experience. Over those 18 years, I treated thousands of children everywhere, anywhere from 2 to years of age to teenage years. Many of these children had high amounts of dental decay, and they invariably came from communities that had no water fluoridation or from families that were on well water in the UP where there was also no fluoridation. The number of children that I had to see in the hospital to treat was extensive, probably several hundred over those years. They had extensive amounts of decay. What do you do with a 2-year-old who has 16 decayed teeth in their mouth at that point in their life? It's a terrible thing to witness and a terrible thing to have to deal with. They have to be taken to the hospital, they go to the operating room, are put under anesthesia and for 3 to 4 hours treated for their dental decay. Crowning the teeth that are decayed, removing teeth that are abscessed and likely to cause further disease and more serious disease in their mouths. The cost of that treatment is about $8,000 for the hospital care, the anesthesia, etc. It's another $3,000 to $4,000 for the dental dental treatment, and that expense is incredibly prohibitive for most people and really not available to most low-income people because they aren't on Medicaid. They can't possibly seek treatment in the hospital. I can say through these 18 years of experience that fluoride absolutely prevents and reduces tooth decay without a question. There's no doubt in my mind that the children that I saw that had fluoridated water were in communities with that fluoridated water and had very little decay compared to those who were on unfluoridated water. I guess my point is a great amount of access to dental care because that was something that I tried to champion when I was working with the county and through state programs, etc. Access to care is critical for children in this UP-wide area.
30 seconds.
And it's likely to become even more difficult with the federal efforts to cut the Medicaid program to children. So I would urge you greatly to continue the water fluoridation in Negaunee Township, because I know with absolute certainty that if we take the water out of the fluoride in our community, we are going to harm our children.
Time has expired, sir.
By causing more decay and hardship for them and their families.
Good evening. My name is Peter Lafreniere. I was a dentist on the street for 38 years. And you all heard, you're probably swimming in numbers, studies, whatever else, but I can unequivocally tell you that the patients that I saw down the street that had fluoridated water had fewer cavities. Kids who came from living out on the basin, Palmer, Sumi, out that way, at least 3 to 5 more cavities than somebody in town. And it comes from fluoride in the water because it's built into the teeth as the teeth are being formed. It's as simple as that. When you add that little bit of mineral, it makes the teeth stronger. And it gives the kids that Jim was just talking about a chance to get old enough to be able to understand how to take care of their teeth. So I can unequivocally say, please do not take the fluoride out of Negaunee's water.
Ashley Britlinger, 100 Croy Street. As a dentist and the owner of Negaunee Family Dentistry, the only dental practice in our city, I urge you not to remove fluoride from our municipal water system. You've heard, the public systems, the CDC, the ADA, the WHO, and the American Academy of Pediatric Dentists all support community water fluoridation. It is safe, affordable, and proven to significantly reduce dental decay in both children and adults. If fluoride is removed, the consequences will be immediate and far-reaching. Dental decay will increase, especially among children, seniors, and people with disabilities. Children will miss more school due to dental pain, infections, treatments, and appointments that are needed. Parents will miss work for these urgent dental care visits that they need to take their children to, and many will have to travel out of the area for care due to our local provider shortage. Emergency room and urgent care visits will increase, driving up healthcare costs for everyone in our community. Dental decay is not just a tooth problem. It causes pain, lost sleep, poor nutrition, lower academic performance, and higher antibiotic usage. It is the #1 chronic disease in children. Negaunee already lacks adequate dental access. A typical dental practice will manage about 1,500 patients. My practice currently has 2,400. They are 2 dentists short for a town of our size. If you remove fluoride, the shortage becomes a crisis. Some say this is about personal choice, but we know that people, especially children, don't always make healthy choices. Fluoride is not a substitute for brushing or flossing. It's a safety net. It protects everyone, including those who can't afford routine dental care, those with limited mobility, and those who simply struggle to keep up with their daily hygiene. This is a community health issue, an equity issue, and an economic issue. You have been elected to protect the well-being of your constituents. Removing fluoride would go against decades of public health policy and scientific consensus, and would place our most vulnerable residents at greater risk. Have you ever had a toothache? You know how debilitating it is. Are we prepared to let our children, our seniors, and our neighbors suffer unnecessarily? I strongly urge you, do not remove fluoride from our water. Let's continue to protect the health of Negaunee now and for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Robin Bond, 2011 Deer Lake Avenue, Ishburne. Now, I do have a personal anecdote about why I favor fluoridation, but I'll save that in case I have any extra time. But what I'd like to do right now is put on my professional hat for this statement. I'm a professor at Northern Michigan University, although I teach in the chemistry department. My PhD is in geochemistry. I specialize in the chemistry of natural water systems, but as part of my training, I also did work with mineralogy. First of all, I want to say that fluoride in the water, whether from minerals or any other source, is fluoride. It is not different. Okay, if you had fluoride-containing minerals and the fluoride came into your water, it would be exactly the same as if you added fluoride. Now, I have heard several statements from the other side about the toxicity of the chemical that is used for fluoridation in Negaunee. This is called alternatively either hydrofluorosilicic acid. It's also known as hexafluorosilicic acid. So I'd like to put some of that fear to rest. So as my students know, how much of an acid appears in its acidic form, basically the form that has the hydrogen attached, and how much appears in the form of its conjugate base, the form that doesn't have the hydrogen attached, depends on the pH of the acid surroundings. Now, the water treatment plant in this area adds enough sodium hydroxide to the water to keep the pH around 8.15. At that pH, over 99.9999% of hydrofluorosilicic acid will be in the form of its conjugate base, hexafluorosilicate. So, who cares? Because here's the thing, when it's in that other form, when it's in the hexafluorosilicate form, it is extremely unstable in water and quickly decomposes into fluoride and silica. Silica is basically just quartz, right? So, now, anyone who's done chemistry knows that sometimes these reactions don't go all the way to completion. So what I did was I researched the thermodynamic properties of hexafluorosilicate, and I did some equilibrium calculations and discovered that basically 100% of the hexafluorosilicate will turn into fluorine. In other words, by the time the chemical reactions are done happening, there would be no hexafluorosilicic acid left in the water. I'm kind of simplifying. In fact, one of the simplifications is I did calculations as though they were happening in pure water, and any good geochemist knows that other things dissolved in the water, like calcium, chloride, and all those other sorts of minerals, might affect the outcomes of these reactions. So my original intent was to run a geochemical simulation, modeling this reaction with all the minerals and other dissolved species found in ground water. But my experience is that sort of thing might adjust your final concentrations by 5, 10, maybe 30%. And 5, 10, or 30% of zero is still zero. But if you want me to run that simulation for you,
30
I will do
seconds.
it. Okay.
30 seconds remaining.
All right. When people opposing fluoridation say that everyone should be able to do their own research, they're talking about a Google search that involves at best a few hours, and they're assuming that everyone can accurately assess scientific claims. It took me a few hours just to find the thermodynamic data. I used to run the calculations. That required access to articles some people may not be able to get to. Doing the math took me an hour or so because I have over a decade of experience in doing this. And that's it.
Your time is expired.
Yeah. So it's not the same sort of research. That's all I'm saying. Okay.
Hello, I'm Ashley Speaker at 1013 Oasis Street in Nagani. Good evening. I serve as a school nurse here in Nagani. I am here as a representative for Nagani schools as well as a concerned parent. I'm also here to speak on behalf of our children and urge you to continue supporting community water fluoridation. As someone who works with children every day, I want to be clear. Removing fluoride would be a serious step backwards for the health of our community. Every day I see how dental health directly affects a child's ability to learn, eat, sleep, and grow. Tooth decay is the most common chronic disease in children. It causes pain, missed school, poor concentration, and low self-esteem. Fluoride in our water is one of the most effective tools that we have to prevent this. According to the CDC, fluoridated water can reduce tooth decay by up to 25% in children and adults. It benefits everyone regardless of age, income, and access to dental care. In Marquette County, nearly a quarter of third grade students have untreated tooth decay, and nearly 40% have experienced decay at some point in their young lives. That's almost half of our kids affected by something completely preventable. For families in Nagani who struggle to afford regular dental visits or fluoride treatments, removing fluoride from our water would only widen the gap in the health outcomes. Now let's talk about the economics. National studies show that for every dollar invested in water fluoridation, about $35 is saved in dental treatment costs. With Nagani's population around 4,600 people, continuing water fluoridation could save our residents roughly $175,000 a year in avoided dental bills. That money stays in the family's pockets. It's money not spent on fillings, extractions, or emergency dental visits. It's also been repeatedly proven safe with years of peer-reviewed studies. Over 75 years of research, including endorsements from the American Academy of Pediatrics, American Dental Association, and the World Health Organization, support fluoride safety and effectiveness at current levels used in drinking water. I understand the desire to question what goes in our water, and I applaud you all for being thoughtful about public health decisions. But this one seems clear. Removing fluoride would harm the very kids we work every day to protect, especially our most vulnerable. For those saying that the U.S. has higher decay rates than other countries, I'd like to encourage you to think more broadly. The U.S. consumes more sugar than most countries. So for me, I look at that and say, thank goodness that we do have the fluoride to help combat the excessive sugar consumption. There's also been claims about lower IQs, behavioral issues, neurological issues. Again, please keep in mind that correlation is not causation. There are many other public and national issues that are causing these concerns, not fluoride. I urge you to listen to the experts here, the dentists, health professionals. Let's continue to invest in prevention, in equity, and in our children's futures. Please vote to keep fluoride in Nagana's water. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Sheila Espinoza, 61 Forge Road, Nagani. I'm here as a concerned parent and citizen. I trust the opinions of our various local dental professionals who have taken care of my family's and our community's dental health over the decades. They are the ones who see the negative impact preventable tooth decay has on people, especially children, and they know the dynamics of our local population. After weighing the valid pros and cons from various sources, I support keeping fluoride in the water supply. If having fluoride in the water here in our area hasn't shown any proven risk to our local population, why take it out? I wonder how many years it would take to see the impact of the absence of fluoride, plus it would be harder or impossible to reverse any damage caused by then. And lastly, in just talking with friends and relatives, it seems to be challenging to find a dental office that can accept new patients. To find one who will take your type of insurance if you have insurance, and there seems to be a trend of having to pay upfront for care, even if you have insurance. So it seems to me that keeping fluoride in the water is a cost-effective, safer, easier way to reach more people to help prevent tooth decay and future dental problems.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Linda Marshall. I live at 129 Valley Road in Nagami. I am an international board certified lactation consultant, so I work with pregnant and breastfeeding families across Marquette County and the state of Michigan. When we're talking about fluoride in a community water system, we're discussing a very monitored and regulated situation, like we've learned here tonight. The amount of fluoride added to the drinking water amounts to basically a few drops in a big 55-gallon drum, or maybe a couple drops in a full bathtub. This has also been happening for, like we learned, almost about 80 years now. So thankfully we have a lot of data that backs up the fact that this is not only safe but beneficial. Dental health for pregnant and lactating women, which is the population that I mainly work with, affects not just the parent but also the fetus or the breastfeeding baby. During pregnancy and lactation, the body is taxed with growing and supporting a whole other person. And it will take what it needs from the parent's body to provide for that baby. And in turn, that baby's still forming teeth. Dental caries or cavities can lead to pain, infection, tooth loss, not to mention expensive dental bills. And an infection in the parent's body can also lead to pregnancy complications in some cases. Research has shown us that when fluoride is added to a community water source in appropriate ratios, it does not cross the placenta in harmful amounts, nor does it pass into breast milk in harmful amounts. Multiple studies have shown fluoride that, again, in appropriate amounts, which is what we have here in Nagani, does not harm a developing fetus or a breastfeeding baby. By adding fluoride to the water system, we can also address some of the disparities that exist within our communities for families that don't have access to regular dental care or even fluoride toothpaste on a regular basis, because not everybody can afford or have access to fluoride toothpaste all the time. That small amount of fluoride in our drinking water can help to protect their dental health. On a personal note, I grew up out in the township and we did not have fluoride in our well water. So my sisters and I, despite seeing the dentist regularly, spent a lot of time at the dentist with dental issues. And all of us have anxiety about going to the dentist to this day because of that. When my first son was born, we, 25 years ago, we also lived in a house with well water. And we were given some misinformation when he was younger about swallowing fluoride toothpaste and things like that, and had chosen to use a non-fluoridated toothpaste. When he was 3, even though we were brushing his teeth and he was not a bottle baby, he was breastfed only, we ended up having to go to Green Bay for dental care for him, and he had to be sedated, and it was traumatic and it was expensive. Just to get all of his teeth fixed, and I felt horrible about it. But thankfully we got some better information, and we got him on fluoride toothpaste and fluoride supplements, and his 3 younger brothers on fluoride supplements, and didn't have any more dental problems after that. And they are all very smart, and they are all very successful young men now, so fluoride didn't cause any issues for them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Mary Creasy, 1216 Winona Street, Negaunee. I'm a dental hygienist, and I think everybody covered the statistics and stuff, and I just want to give a little of my experience. I worked 17 years in pediatric dentistry, and as Dr. Lafreniere and Dr. Hayward said, it was the kids that had well water that were getting the total decay, and it was, you know, some of them didn't even have pediatricians that would, you know, prescribe fluoride supplements, because they were poor, and it's just awful. So please, don't take fluoride out of the water. It's for your kids, for your grandkids. It's just terrible. Also, I would like to remind me, and this was what my professors always told us at the University of Michigan, back in the 50s, 20-year-olds were getting dentures. You don't see that anymore, you know. They lost all their teeth. So please, let's keep our fluoride. Thank you.
Bill Ballard, 2625 West Fair, Marquette. I'm a dentist in Marquette Township, Wright Street Dental. And I'm here to talk about the benefits of fluoride and how they prevent cavities. Cavities are caused by acids, which are found in our foods, our beverages, and even in our stomach. Germs or bacteria in our mouths also cause cavities by eating sugars, starches, and carbohydrates that we consume in our foods and beverages. After bacteria eat the sugar, they make acid, which causes cavities. Fluoride is the best ingredient we have to prevent cavities. It works in two ways. It hardens the teeth, making them more resistant to acid. The bacteria that cause cavities eat the fluoride instead of sugar and can't produce acid. There are three crucial things that can be done to prevent cavities. One, you can brush and floss your teeth. For best results, use a fluoride toothpaste twice a day. Two, you can eat a healthy diet, limiting how often sugars, carbs, and acids are exposed to the teeth. There are lots of cavity-causing snacks being consumed in convenient processed foods and soda substitutes like sparkling water and water flavorings, water enhancers that are acidic and promote cavities. The third crucial thing that can be done to prevent cavities is drink fluoridated water, because it strengthens the teeth and it fights the germs that cause cavities. I think it's important that you ask yourself if you're doing a good job brushing and flossing. How about our kids? How are they doing with that? Ask yourself how you're doing with your diet. Are you at risk of developing cavities? How about our kids? Ask yourself what will happen if fluoride is removed from the water. The certain answer is there will be more catastrophic, overwhelming tooth decay.
Thank you.
Hello, Brian Anderson, 229 Shoreline Drive in Negaunee. I'm a dentist here for going on the past 16 years in Michigan. I'm just going to touch briefly. Everyone's done a really good job going over a lot of information. Some of the cities that have removed fluoride from their municipalities and have eventually reinstated it. Calgary gets brought up quite frequently, which according to reports should be next week they're reinstating their fluoride. 2011 it was removed with the argument that fluoride can come from other sources. Fluoride works really good in two different ways. One is systemic and one is topical. So topically is what we do in our offices with fluoride varnishes. Your daily 2 to 3 times a day of using fluoride toothpaste. That coats the tooth and ensures that the external surfaces are getting taken care of. The water sources act in two ways. They also work topically because you're bathing your tooth in fluoride daily. Also the argument of children with the ingestion and the incorporation of the fluoride into the enamel surface creates a much more resilient tooth. I'll kind of say the same thing. I'll be working in the hospital tomorrow with 2 kids that are from non-fluoridated areas. They'll be going under general anesthesia. I'll be doing hours worth of work on them. And back when Dr. Hayward was going to the hospital, it was about $8,000 for hospital care. Now it's more like $20,000 for the hospital bill. And most of those children have Medicaid, and the hospital has to only get a couple $1,000s from that. So the hospitals hate having us there because they don't make any money off of it. They usually lose money on days when we're there. So also in Calgary, kind of reverting back to that, by 2018, they had noted a 700% increase in severe dental decay and disease and infections, especially in children, requiring IV antibiotics and oral operating reuse. Like I said, they'll be reinstating that next week. Windsor, Ontario had removed by vote in 2013. 5 years later, had a revote to resume fluoridation due to the county health report showing there was a significant increase in tooth decay in their community. An interesting one, that Albuquerque, New Mexico had suspended their water fluoridation temporarily because they naturally have 0.5 parts per million of fluoride in their water. They wanted to be sure they were given the federally recommended amount of fluoride to their city, which is 0.7, and when it was determined that it should be at 0.7, they added enough to get 2.7 from 0.5. You know, from a city standpoint, many of these cities have multiple lawsuits against them in regard to families that had fluoride taken away in their water sources, lots of decay, infections, problems like that. You know, it's like anything, any medication that I prescribe, any medication that any of the other physicians will prescribe, it is the dose, the appropriate dose. It's studied at the appropriate dose of 0.7 parts per million.
30 seconds remaining.
The studies that are going against everything essentially are from other countries that use much, much higher doses, or they're looking at higher doses of fluoride. So, thank you.
Danielle Anderson, 229 Shoreline Drive in Negaunee. I have a PhD in public health, focusing on community health and education. I also work at 906 Family Dentistry, and I teach for a university in Ohio. So I have dealt with public health for a really long time, and I've also worked in a dental office, and one of the reasons why I wanted to do that was because upon first moving back here after schooling, it was a program through Northern Michigan University that showed that this area of the Upper Peninsula has abnormally high caries rates in children. A lot of that is due to the areas that do not have fluoridation in the water. So what I did is I conducted research to show the lack of providers to see pediatric dental patients, and the length of time that children are having to wait for dental care. Now imagine you had 3, 4, 5, 6 teeth that had cavities in your mouth, and maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 other teeth that were abscessing. There's not a pediatric dentist who will take your insurance. If you have Medicaid, you're not going to find one. You're going to have to go downstate. You're going to have to spend the gas, the food, the hotel to find someone, because you can't go to Wisconsin on Michigan Medicaid. Local dentists that do try to see children at one point had a 1.5-year wait to get OR time. I'm also vice president of the board of Bell Hospital, and I fight with them constantly about not removing dental services from their OR schedule. Dr. Anderson also sees handicapped adults. taking away fluoride from an already vulnerable population is a responsibility that you're gonna have to live with when the caries rates go up. Children have actually died from dental infections that have gone untreated. It happens every year. Imagine a preventive method that is known being taken away from a population. A preventative method that we know through years of research through the public health system. Our main goal is primary prevention. We don't want secondary or tertiary prevention. We don't want kids in the hospital. We don't want kids sick, staying home with abscesses in their mouth. If you want to see pictures, you want to have testimonials of kids, of OR nurses who have literally almost thrown up because green pus is coming out of mouths of children. Imagine how those children are going to be when the people who are supposed to be looking out for them don't use research. Professor Pond, is it? Bond. Okay, so, blew me away, right? I have a ton of education. I didn't understand a single thing that she said. Okay? And I'm sure a majority of us don't. But when you look at what it takes to understand this level of chemistry and science, you have to go to the experts. You have a responsibility for scientifically sound research. The most important thing that
30
you
seconds
have
remaining.
when research informs policy decisions, which is what this is, right? The research you're using has to adhere to standards and guidelines. It can't be anecdotal. It can't be from other countries. It can't be comparing apples to oranges. All I ask of you is that you use your responsibility and you seek professionals who can show you the research and have discussions. Thank you.
Dr. Caitlin Wetton, 571 Lakewood Lane, Marquette. I work at 906 Family Dentistry here in Ishpeming, and I am also the president of the Superior District Dental Society, which is our local component of the Michigan Dental Association. Fluoride is a naturally occurring mineral found in soil, rocks, and water, so it can be both mineral and ion form. Though fluoride is naturally occurring and is in all water supplies to some extent, it depends on where you live to determine how prevalent fluoride is in your environment. An argument that is frequently made against fluoride is that there are multiple countries that do not fluoridate their water. However, it is very important to understand the why. There are 25 countries in the world that currently add fluoride to their water, including the United States, Canada, Australia, Chile, Spain, France, the United Kingdom, Malaysia, and Ireland, among others. While these 25 countries choose to fluoridate, there are 40 that do not fluoridate. In the 40 countries that are not fluoridating their water, they have fluoride that is already at higher levels naturally in their water supply than 0.7 parts per million. Fluoride is safe and incredibly effective at preventing tooth decay when it is given at this appropriate level of 0.7 parts per million. Fluoride is only added to water when the natural fluoride level is below 0.7, and it can actually help prevent tooth decay at that level. Other reasons for not fluoridating in other countries have also been noted due to the terrain being too mountainous to allow for the infrastructure required. Even still, countries are still trying to find other ways to fluoridate besides the water. We see countries adding fluoride to milk and salt. Fluoride in nature is in the form of calcium fluoride, and when we add it to our water, it mixes and becomes the ion fluoride. That same fluoride ion exists when you accidentally gulp water while swimming in Lake Superior, or in the ocean while on vacation. I learned today that the ocean has 1.0 parts per million of fluoride. While there are decades upon decades of solid scientific research on the safety and efficacy of water fluoridation, and people are actually employed to ensure that our levels of fluoride are accurate, there are a lot of myths floating around about fluoride and the harm that it does. I do agree that fluoride in excess, far beyond 0.7 parts per million, can cause harm in various ways, but so can anything in excess.
For example, besides fluoride, the local water authority also adds chlorine or chloramines to the water. Chlorine as an additive aids in removing bacteria and viruses from the water, making water safe to drink for the general public. At the correct levels, it allows for the prevention of waterborne diseases. But in excess, it can cause asthma, damage to skin and hair, spontaneous abortion, developmental harm to fetuses, GI distress, amidst other issues. Our water authority works tirelessly to get us safe water, ensuring that both chlorine and fluoride are only permitted at safe, effective levels. Community water fluoridation is easily the most cost-effective and time-efficient way to help promote dental health in our communities, and it benefits everyone. Ending fluoridation would impact the entire community, but would be especially harmful for our most vulnerable populations, especially children, the elderly, those with special needs, and those who may not be able to afford alternative forms of fluoride or more frequent visits to the dentist.
30 seconds, Ryan.
I urge the Negaunee City Council and community to follow the science and continue community water fluoridation. I also want to say really quickly that, on a personal note, I would not do something that would be damaging to our community, as we did take an oath, and we took an oath to do no harm as dentists. I would not want to put my patients at risk, but I also would not recommend fluoride for myself or my family if I didn't believe that it was safe. And we do use fluoride in my family. Thank you.
Jennifer Eiler, 487 Hudson and Gwynn. So, hi, my name is Jennifer Eiler. I am a health educator at Marquette County Health Department. And today I'm here to talk about fluoride. This topic has been coming up a lot recently, and there seems to be lots of questions and misconceptions around this subject, especially about the safety of fluoride in drinking water and toothpaste. So, water fluoridation is one of the most effective public health measures that we have implemented in the last century. It involves just adding a small controlled amount of fluoride to the public water supply to help prevent tooth decay. There has been some concern about fluoride toxicity, but in order to reach those acute levels, a person would have to drink somewhere between either 80 to 200 gallons of fluoridated water within a few hours, which is far beyond what your body is capable of doing. You would get very sick if you even attempted to do anything remotely close to that. Water fluoridation has been supported decades by scientific research. It's been endorsed by countless major health organizations, the CDC, World Health Organization, the American Dental Association. It's not only safe, but it also saves families and our community money on dental care. So what about toothpaste, and especially when it comes to our children? So fluoride toothpaste is a very powerful tool to help with cavity prevention. And it is true that young children may accidentally swallow some of that toothpaste when they're brushing their teeth, but there's some things to consider. So if you're taking a pea-size amount, which is what is typically recommended when you're brushing, that pea-size amount has 0.25 milligrams of fluoride in it. So for a child to experience serious toxicity, they would need to ingest 300 pea-size amounts in one sitting, which is not gonna happen. I would hope, if their parents are at home. So the most common result of regular over-ingestion is gonna be dental fluorosis, which is a mild cosmetic condition where there might be some white spots on the tooth. That does not cause pain. It does not cause any other health issues. To prevent this, parents can use a rice-size amount of toothpaste for children under the age of 3, and then a pea-size amount of toothpaste for children 3 to 6 years old.
But what's most essential is supervision while brushing, because that's when parents can teach their children that they need to be spitting out the toothpaste instead of swallowing it.
30 seconds remaining.
Okay, so when water fluoridation is combined with fluoride toothpaste, it's like using both seatbelts and an airbag. Each is effective on their own, but together they provide an even greater protection, and it's a dual layer of defense for stronger and healthier teeth.
Thank you.
Hi again. Rebecca Mino, 725 Carr, Nagani, registered dental hygienist, health educator, Marquette County Health Department, dental and public health 38 years. I'm the one who does the kindergarten dental screenings for our county. I can visually see the difference that fluoridation makes when I'm screening children's teeth. The children in areas that have water fluoridation have significantly less tooth decay than children with non-fluoridated water supplies. I personally, during my screenings, have not seen dental fluorosis in 20 to 25 years. So please, and I've asked this question before, please, can somebody show me where the fluoride-infected people live in our community? Please, somebody show me them. Because when I look around, I don't see any of them, and I don't see them when I'm screening children's teeth either. We have been drinking fluoridated water since 1951. I know you've heard that a million times tonight. And if there was a problem, we would have seen that problem decades ago. Fluoride is a mineral, and it does exist naturally in well water supplies. Oceans at 1 part per million. Lake Superior, 0.08 parts per million, so it's there. Next, I keep hearing this word choice, and we've talked about this before. I've talked about it before at other council meetings. We all have a choice. If you don't like the Nagani water, don't drink it. You can buy water supplies, you can have it delivered. You can go to Castle's Corner. They have a spring there, it's an artesian 2 well. It's running 24/7. You can get your water there for free, just bring your jugs. And again, I called there a second time to say, is it free? Yes. Please don't slip when you're there, they say. As for informed consent applies to medical treatment, not public health measures. Informed consent is a core principle in individual medical treatment like surgeries or prescriptions, where a patient is directly receiving care. Fluoridating public water supplies is a population-wide public health intervention that is comparable to regulations like iodized salt or chlorinated water. These measures are designed to prevent disease on a community level and not treat not treat individuals. So they don't fall into the same ethical or legal framework as informed consent. So I hope everybody understands the difference. During the March 13th, 2025 Nagani City Council meeting that I was at, a council member spoke out stating that they haven't drank the fluoridated water for 15 years. However, they also stated that they grew up drinking fluoridated water and said that they had never had a cavity. This statement is evidence that fluoridation works. As a child, that council member's teeth grew and were able to absorb fluoride in the water, making their teeth stronger and more resistant to acids, so they are cavity-free. This individual's dental health has enjoyed the benefits of fluoridated water from their childhood, and how lucky are they to be cavity-free. Last but not least, I just want to add something that really nobody's touched on yet. The anti-fluoride group has been very unsuccessful in the city of Marquette. This has been going on for 10 years and longer, so I've been told. So I'm hoping this council will do what Marquette has done and listen to the science. Please call your Marquette City Councilman and talk to them before you make any decisions, and read your packets. Thank you for your time. Thank you to our water authority, and please remember, dosage and concentration matters. The evidence is crystal clear.
Tracy
Linton. I live at 740 Everett Street here in Negaunee. I work for Smiles on Wheels. We are a nonprofit organization that services the schools in the UP. There are 2 teams for Smiles on Wheels, 3 hygienists total. I'm also here to be a voice for the kids that we see. I see dental cavities, early childhood cavities, rapid early childhood cavities, which would be cavities on 10 or more baby teeth, children under the age of 5. Sorry, I'm nervous. And active infection in every school that I visit in every county across the UP. From Sault Ste. Marie to Calumet, here in Negaunee, Marquette, Iron Mountain, Kingsford, Rapid River, Mid-Penn. It's a real problem, and many of these children do not have a dental home. Many of these kids often don't have toothbrushes at home, don't have toothpaste at home. We pack a lot of extra supplies for them when that's the case. They don't have a voice. They can't be here today to speak for themselves, so I am here to do so. There are not many dentists who accept Healthy Kids insurance currently. Many of these kids don't have anywhere to go. It's sad to see. Why do we fluoridate our water? Because it helps strengthen permanent teeth as they are forming. I see elementary age kids, so the majority of the decay I see is on baby teeth. So these kids are starting their lives out at a very high risk for cavities that will carry on into adolescence and adulthood. By providing fluoridated water, they have an extremely cost-effective way to strengthen their permanent teeth as they come in. Their families don't have to make an appointment for them. They don't have to make a payment for them to have that. They just have to drink the water. I'm not here to change your opinion on fluoride necessarily, only to ask that you don't deny those who could benefit from it the option. As it has been said, if you oppose fluoride, you don't have to drink the water. Last school year, I saw 64 kids who had active infection. That's not just a dental cavity. That's an abscess tooth that has become infected. It can be dangerous, it can be painful, it can be difficult to eat. So, how do we combat this in dentistry? We try to push prevention.
30 seconds remaining.
Fluoride is one of the tools in our toolkit to do this. It seems as though more and more of those lifelines for these kids are being pulled away. So, just asking you to consider leaving them this option.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Marissa Mino. I live at 725 Carr Street in Negaunee. I'm a nurse at an orthopedic office in Marquette, and I'm gonna shorten this up a bit because I have a dog. I need to go walk. I'm here today in support of community water fluoridation. Fluoride in drinking water is not some crazy mind control or conspiracy theory. It's definitely not mass medication, as we've heard from the professionals. It is, however, one of the most effective public health tools we've ever had. We add fluoride to water for the same reason we fortify milk with vitamin D and cereal with iron, to prevent common preventable health problems. In fluoride's case, cavities, the most common chronic disease in children, prevented quietly, cheaply,
without needing a reminder to swish and spit twice daily. Now some say, but I didn't consent to fluoride in my water. Okay, but public health isn't about customizing every detail of your daily life. It is about protecting the many with proven, low-risk tools. Fluoride works, period. Decades of research, globally recognized, zero drama. Let's be logical here. Let's keep the fluoride in the water. Thank you.
Dave Campana, 1711 Grandview Drive. I live in Marquette. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I'm a retired pharmacist. I worked 38 years, 5 years in Lansing, a year in Denver, the rest in Marquette County. I spent 10 years in Ishpeming, a little bit in Negaunee, then over 20 years in Marquette City when I bought and owned Campus Pharmacy. During my time, I dispensed and sold lots of fluoride, Never had a problem with it. Like all pharmacists, I knew pretty much the things about all the doctors and dentists in the county and beyond. I never knew one dentist, one doctor to be against fluoride. They were all for it, never had a problem. I never had a parent come up to me and say, hey, the fluoride you gave my kid, my child, was bad. Never had a problem. You never read about fluoride in the paper. Fluoride's always, there's never anything bad that has happened with fluoride. And as I understand it, as it is now, every dentist in Marquette County, 100% is in favor of fluoride. That should tell you something. You've heard this before. I'll probably repeat everything because everybody said a lot of good things about fluoride tonight. So I'm probably repeating myself. Do not call fluoride medicine or a drug. It's not that. It is an inorganic mineral. It is governed by the EPA and Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. It's a mineral additive. It scares people when you say it's a drug. You're putting drugs in the water. It's not how it is. Fluoride has been proven, of course, to be very effective. There's over 3,000 studies proving this. And I don't even know why there's such a discussion about this, because we're talking about fluoride in our water supply at 0.7 parts per million. We're not talking more than that. At 0.7 parts per million, there has never been a problem. There's never been a legitimate study saying it's a problem. Never. If there's problems that are brought up, you hear about problems, it's because fluoride is given to this person or used in high quantities. At 0.7, not a problem. Another thing is, every body of water everywhere has fluoride in it. Lakes, rivers, streams, Teal Lake has it, Lake Superior has it. There's fluoride in well water, everywhere. It's just not to the level where it's therapeutic. That's why we add to it. But you're not going to get away from drinking fluoride. It's in your water, everywhere. Just a couple things that irritate me. I talked to a PhD researcher at the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. The pineal gland issue. They say fluoride is attracted to the pineal gland and it causes problems there. I was told it has about a zero effect on the pineal gland. In fact, the pineal gland, it's in a person by the time they're 17 years old, is 40% calcified. Calcified being calcium. Fluoride, if it's there, it's less than 1%. They have done post-mortem studies on pineal glands. No fluoride was found. So, if you hear that, this is from the Department of Health and Human Services. They also say, and I've heard this from also
30 seconds remaining.
30 seconds, okay. Bone cancer, other cancers, thyroid issues, none of this is caused by fluoride. None of it. 30 seconds?
You have about 18 now. Any further comments for,
I would like to make a comment.
for your proponent of fluoride?
No, I'm against fluoride, but I came late.
All right, we are gonna continue on with the pro fluoride, and then I will open it back up one more for, at the end, we'll allow you to speak. But I'll let the pro fluoride floor continue speaking. If we have any further.
Gino Lino, 725 Carr Street, Nagani. I'll just make a couple of quick observations. Number one, my family, born and raised in Nagani. I've drank it for 60-some years, okay? My family, again, except in this room, I normally consider myself one of the smartest guys in the room. In this room, I'm humble. But again, my family is big. My cousin used to be the mayor. My cousin was the sheriff of Marquette County. I have 5 brothers and sisters, all my nieces and nephews. We've all drank it. My daughter who got up here, 3rd degree. So again, saying anything affects intelligence or whatever they want to say, again, to me is ridiculous. And the only other observation I will say on this is this. This group of people, all these dentists, hygienists, medical professionals, all these people that came here tonight, sat for 2 hours in this hot room. No benefit to them to keep this in the water, except that their commitment to community health, that they are here for the betterment of children and for lower income people and all that. They don't get a kickback from the fluoride companies. They don't get nothing for putting the water in there. They're not getting paid more. In fact, if they let you take this out of the water, they'd have job security for the next 50 years. So again, let's be logical here. I am a perfect example. All my friends that have all grown up and lived here for 50 years, 60 years, and have drank it all this time, all of us have great teeth, and I think we're all smart as a whip. So again, thank you.
I'm Sarah Webster, 645 Prince Street, Nagani. I was born and raised here. Again, drank the water also. I worked in a small town that did not have fluoridated water. I was a kindergarten teacher for about a decade, and I literally also watched the effects of kids who are trying to learn in school and are dealing with tooth pain and tooth decay, and would appreciate keeping the water fluoridated in Nagani. And I also came up here just to say that anybody here who would also like to keep fluoride in the water, even if you don't really want to say anything but your name and say, yes, I support fluoride in the water, to just come up and say your name. I just appreciate it.
Thank you.
Julie Lugron, 813 Lexington Boulevard, Nagani, lifelong resident. I just have a quick comment to make, and I'm a retired nurse of 43 years, and in numerous positions, having cavities can prevent you from having emergency surgery, because you can get septic if you have a cavity. So I've worked in cardiology, and surgeries have been put off until their dental work has been taken care of. I had a knee operation done, and I developed an abscess, and I could not have that taken care of until 3 months later after antibiotics. Otherwise, that would have gone septic, and it could have gone to my knee and caused me more damage. Or it could have gone to my brain because it was up higher. So just to keep in mind that cavities can cause issues in any age.
Hello, I'm Heather Holman, 943 Pine Street, Nagani. I'm also the principal of Lakeview Elementary School. I'm not going to rehash. Ashley Speaker, our school nurse, came and spoke for the district.
I just wanted to come up to say that I'm here to support keeping fluoride in water. Thank you.
Hello, Melissa Macario, 408 Muscatine Street, Nagani. And not only for my own children, I'm also a teacher at Lakeview, and I just want to say I also support fluoride in water. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Louis Benton. I live in Marquette now, but I grew up in Nagani, and I just simply am here to say that I support keeping fluoride in water. And I did live in Grand Rapids for 5 years. Around that area, that's where fluoride was first put in water and successfully tested.
My name is Julie Null, 907 Hungerford, Nagani, Michigan. Lifelong Nagani girl. I support fluoride in the water. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mark Webster, Nagani. I haven't lived here that long. I think we should have fluoridation in the water. Let's not go backwards.
Do you have any more?
Hi, Blake Becker, Nagani resident. I support keeping fluoride in the water. Thank you.
Any further support for fluoride? Any further comments? All right, I'm going to entertain one more comment, I believe, for
Thank you.
Taking it out.
Sorry, I'm on Central Standard Time. My name is Brenda Sedemeyer, W355 Auburn Street, Peshtigo, Wisconsin. I'm the mother who sued or is part of the federal lawsuit against the US EPA over fluoride's toxicity. We filed this suit in 2017 while I was studying environmental engineering with a focus on water. After 7 years in court, Judge Edward Chen ruled in September that fluoridated water at 0.7 milligrams per liter poses an unreasonable risk to reduced IQ in children. This ruling is based on credible, peer-reviewed science. One thing I want to mention, based on comments I heard today, is that the experts in our lawsuit discussed at length that during the 3rd trimester of pregnancy, the developing fetus receives the largest dose of fluoride because the mother's bones store fluoride over her lifetime, and it is released while the fetus is developing their bones during this time. How many dentists force a patient to have fluoride treatments if the patient says they don't want it? Fluoride promoters dig in deeper, gaslighting the public with claims that fluoride is safe, effective, cost-saving to save the multi-billion-dollar fluoride reputation while ignoring the mounting evidence showing harm. Low income, mouth breathing, sugar, frequent snacking on carbs, low vitamin D levels all affect decay rates. The first randomized controlled trial is being done at this time to even see if swallowing fluoride works. In this study, they do not want the infants drinking their infant formula mixed with fluoridated water because of the risk of overexposure. For the last 80 years, fluoride has been based on correlation and not necessarily causation. Maybe decay has declined with blood lead levels. That hasn't been controlled for. Lead levels are linked to decay. The current head of Health and Human Services has advised communities to stop adding fluoride and to follow Utah and fluoride in banning it because of risks to the developing brain. In April, the White House acknowledged studies linking low-level fluoride exposure to hormone disruption, inflammation, liver and kidney damage, and sleep issues. New research comes out constantly. One study released in the past few days showed fluoride impairs glucose regulation and increases insulin resistance, highlighting its role in diabetes. The fluoride promoters keep saying no evidence of harm, as they've been doing for the last 80 years, despite the high-quality studies showing otherwise. A recent US study found children with fluoride levels in their urine as high as 10 milligrams per liter. Women are advised to drink 2 liters of water per day, meaning their fluoride dose often matches the level linked to neurotoxic harm. Men typically get even more. Worse, fluoride promoters blur the lines between natural calcium fluoride, which is a mineral like asbestos, and industrial fluorosilicic acid, a hazardous waste product from fertilizer and aluminum manufacturing that contains arsenic, lead, mercury, and fluorine ions. They lean on outdated endorsements from institutions like the ADA and the American Academy of Pediatrics while ignoring current
30
science
seconds remaining.
and toxicity. Formula-fed infants in fluoridated areas receive up to 70 times more fluoride than breastfed babies, which puts them at a greater risk of brain harm. Tooth decay is still the most common chronic disease in children and adults, even after 80 years of fluoridation. Grand Rapids, Michigan still has an epidemic of decay in low-income children. Cochrane 2024 shows that the benefit of fluoride is less than 4%, not 25%.
And your time has expired.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, so we've heard pro fluoride, against fluoride, and now I'd like to open it up to anybody that is, how do we want to put it? Neutral on the subject. No, you can't speak again, of course, but anybody that's neutral, that's just make a comment on the subject. No, with that being said, we will close public comment on public hearing 6.1. We want to move on with we can open to the council if we want to entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn?
No. I mean,
just to be sure, everybody, you can make a motion to do something. You don't have to make a motion to do anything, and you could make a motion to adjourn.
I already did.
It's up to the executive to recognize it.
I would still like to entertain a second public comment before we motion to adjourn. But if there's no motion on the floor to take any action this evening.
I'd like to make a motion to add, water fluoridation, to the ballot in the November election to let the citizens of Negaunee decide whether or not they would like to continue with water fluoridation. It's too big of a decision for us.
Is there a second? Let's see, somebody keep it. Is there a second for that?
I'll second that.
No, second. We want to discuss that first. Further discussion, Amanda?
I think this is a really hot button issue. There's a lot of people very passionate on both sides. And if the citizens of Negaunee want to continue water fluoridation, I think that it should be up to them. And I think that it should be on the November ballot this year. I think that it's too big of a decision for 7 of us to vote on. This should be a city decision, citywide decision.
Matt?
I agree with Amanda. It's obviously a hot topic. And have to deal with Ishpeming and whatnot, I don't know where they at, if anybody talked to them or not, but, you know, it probably should be put to a vote by the people, so.
Any further council comment?
Just a quick point
Yes,
of order,
definitely.
point of order question, is that something that's proper for the, council to decide?
As to whether you can put something on the ballot?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm looking up.
Yes, we
I know. There is a mechanism in your city charter for that. I just don't know if it can be raised by a city council member. I think you have to have a citizen bring that issue to the council. And after you bring the issue to the council, you guys can either act on that through a referendum petition or alternatively put it on the ballot. I think that's the only way this council can direct something specifically to be put on the ballot. And I will verify that in about 2 minutes. If you guys got a referendum or ballot initiative, which would be 30% of the people who voted in the last gubernatorial election, I think is the number.
Yes.
Thanks, Ann. And then they brought that petition to you, and it was a valid petition, the clerk had certified that the circulator was, did their appropriate job, the people who signed the petition did, filled it out appropriately, all city residents, et cetera. And so the ballot petition was certified by the clerk, it was brought before you guys, and you guys said, we're not interested in acting on that, we can then put it before the citizens to vote on. I think that's the only mechanism that you have for doing that. Because again, you guys are voted by the populace to make these type of decisions. I understand sometimes they're uncomfortable, sometimes you want more input, but that's the nature of the democratic republic that the city charter has set up for the city of Lebanon.
Mr. Mayor, I'll also, add some light to this. I don't believe, that we can make a ballot proposal or measure at a special meeting. There has to be a hearing on that specifically, I believe. And there's language that would have to be attained to that as well. People tonight, I believe you're coming here for a public hearing and information on fluoride. The matter also stands whether the council had voted it in back in 1951, or whether the people voted in 1951. The state's policy, as far as I understand, is it has to be removed the same mechanism that was put in. Of course, the council can always punt this to the public if they'd like to, but I feel it would make more sense for us to research that further if that council believes we should remove fluoride from the system overall. The only thing I will note for my 2 cents, 5 people from Ngani spoke in favor, keep taking fluoride out of water tonight. Nearly 30 people spoke not to, and they were in this creek. The numbers seem very uneven, and being a hot button topic, I think that's a little generous.
So, where do we want to go from there, sir?
Again, I think a point of order.
Yeah, we gotta determine if the motion's in order or not before you can move forward.
You're also looking at the deadline to get it on the ballot, Jeremy,
Well,
of July 29th.
okay. I'm pretty confident in my assessment, not putting my fingers on the exact provision, but if you give me 2 more minutes, I'll find it.
Any further discussion on the floor of the proposed motion?
Just at the point where, can we wait to figure out the motions in order before we have more discussion?
More
I
discussion?
mean, if the motion's not in order, then it doesn't warrant any discussion.
Absolutely.
Can we have another public comment in the meantime, while Jeremy?
No, just give me a second. Hang with me, guys.
Dr.
cell phone chargers.
I know, right? All right, all initiatory and refractory referendums shall initiate by petition. So, according to section, if anybody wants to take a look at this, it's section 5.17, initiatives and referendums,
Under the city charter.
under the city charter, correct?
So we need to do a petition.
And so it's 25% of the last gubernatorial election. So that's the way you would get something put on the ballot, is if a citizen brought, remember we did this recently with
Yeah.
Old Town, right?
Yeah.
And then they brought a petition forward, you guys didn't take action on it, and you sent it to the clerk to certify it and put it on the ballot. That's the same process you have to use. So, to the question, I think the motion is probably out of order. If
I'd
you-
like to withdraw mine.
Okay. But certainly feel free to entertain other motions. There's other motions that you could make if you want to make any action.
And now is the motion open to everybody again, because that begins with John? So, would any further council member like to entertain a motion pertaining to tonight's? So, we're going to move on from there. Okay, well, we are out of 6.1, moving on to number 7. Public comment. Again, this is back to a 3-minute public comment. Please, we've already spoke about the water fluoridation issue, so if you do have public comment, further public comment about another issue, by all means, please step up to the podium and share your comment. Seeing none, moving on to council comments. Any council comments this evening? No? Okay, go ahead, Dave.
Well, Pioneer Days is sneaking up on us, so I'm in a dilemma. Do I march with the Lions or do I go with City Council? So, either way, we have pros and cons tonight, okay? So I'm just gonna take a neutral stance and say, I'm gonna parade, I ain't throwing candy. That's great.
Tracy, anything?
I'd like to thank everyone who took their time to come here, especially the medical professionals, dentists. Your time is very important to all of us and all the citizens as well.
Mandy, you have something?
Yes, this is all kind of my fault. Sorry. I would also like to thank everyone for coming. It really just, it shows what our country is about. You know, we can all have a difference in opinion and we're not gonna get thrown in jail for it, right? Because we live in a free country. Excuse me. I have a lot of personal reasons to be opposed to municipal water fluoridation. I believe that the new science and info out there cannot be ignored. Like somebody pointed out, I haven't used water or fluoridated water for the last 15 years, and I have no cavities. But I do have hypothyroidism, and that was my reason for, I have Hashimoto's thyroiditis. So fluoride is dangerous to my health. And so I have to go to great lengths to avoid it. So that is my personal reason. I should clarify that, yes, I lived in Nagani most of my life, but my first 11 years, I lived downstate, in and out of rural communities that, some had water fluoridation, some didn't. And my last dental visit with Dr. Cronenfelter. He was like, you must take really good care of your teeth, and you must have grown up with good fluoridated water. And I was like, well, actually, I didn't. You know, I did. I haven't had any fluoride for the last 15 years, and there's been no change in my dental health. But I do struggle with hypothyroidism still, unfortunately. That has, you know, manifested into other autoimmune issues. So, those are my personal reasons. But the ethical reasons to end water fluoridation are pretty clear. It is unethical to add any medical intervention to the drinking water, to the municipal drinking water. And it is a medical intervention. It is.
We have already spoke of the water fluoridation. I mean, we spoke of your personal, but, right, you could have spoke during public comment about.
I'm a council member.
Yes, you still.
Yes.
I mean, if you want to continue, you can continue your.
I'll continue. But I think that whether you are for or against it, every citizen should be given a choice. And it's not safe for everyone, it's not safe for me. And it shouldn't be in our municipal water supply, in my opinion. But I've taken great lengths to avoid it the last 15 years, and I'll continue to do that. If the citizens of Negaunee, if they choose to petition, and it's put on the ballot, whether the city wants it, the citizens of the city want it, we'll still have it. If they don't want it, we won't. And that's the democratic process. And that's what we should be adhering to. Thank you.
Thank you. John, anything from you today?
First of all, thank you to all of you that came tonight to speak and share your thoughts on this issue. Somebody that teaches young people public speaking and in hopes that they become civic-minded and get engaged in their communities. I appreciate all of you that did so tonight. I encourage you to keep showing up for your community. It's why we're here. Why we're here sitting at this table should never be about our personal issues or feelings on any subject. We're here to do the work of the people of Negaunee. I believe that the choice that we have all made is the choice to live in this community as a group. And sometimes that means that things aren't always the way that we might like them. But that's the choice that we make. If it is a personal thing, if it's costing you money, if you've got a conflict of interest, you ought to acknowledge that. And maybe you really shouldn't be voting on this issue on behalf of the citizens of Negaunee if you are that personally vested on any topic. So I think that's all I got tonight.
Matt, anything?
It's probably best I just don't say anything.
Kevin, anything today?
I just want to thank everybody who came out tonight and spoke for or against. I was thoroughly impressed by the level of discussion we had tonight.
That's all you have? Thank you. Thank you everyone for coming out. I kind of tested my my will sitting in this chair tonight, and I've been, this meeting's been on my mind quite a bit lately, so.
Great job.
Thanks for coming out, thanks for making your voices be heard. That's what we want here, right? This is excellent to see this many bodies in this room. And Robin, I'd just like to personally thank you. I don't have to go home and do my geochemical simulation. So, with that being said, sir, do you have anything tonight? No? All right. With that, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Support.
John seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Adjourned, everybody.